Sup, y'all, and welcome to Press On Sports. I'm Jack Vita. This morning is June 3rd, 2019, 11 a.m., and Game 2 of the NBA Finals was last night, so I have a great guest who's going to join me in a second live here in studio. Should be a lot of fun. We'll be breaking down what we've seen out of these finals so far, and maybe we'll talk a little bit of baseball or some other stuff a little later on. If you would like to, real quick, if you'd like to support this podcast, I know some people have been asking me lately how they could do that. Go ahead and subscribe to Press On Sports on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. That helps a lot with growing the audience. That's something I'm trying to do right now, and it would mean a lot to me. So that's one way that you can give back to the show, and I thank you, everyone who's listening. And at this time, I'm going to bring in our guest today. We've got a guy making his podcasting debut.
Yes, sir.
Bair Kothmann. How you doing, Bair?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Jack. I'm excited.
I should also add a new member of the TCU basketball team. You are one of the managers now.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it next year to get involved with basketball in a sense that's not just fandom.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm going to be a part of the game, so that's pretty cool.
Has that changed at all the way you've looked at this finals? Have you looked at it through a different lens as someone who's a manager now?
I don't know if it's necessarily that, just because I've only gone to 3 practices at TCU. So I kind of get a sense of what maybe they go through during practices and stuff like that, just because I'm constantly setting up the drills for the coaches at TCU. But other than that, no, I'm still just a fan. I think I love the NBA Finals. It's so exciting. Well, hopefully.
Well, I thank you for joining me
thanks for having
early
me.
this morning, too. I know you're not the biggest morning guy, at least at the moment.
No, not at the moment. Not in the summer. But when it comes to basketball, I am, I say.
Okay, great. So let's talk about what we've seen in these finals so far. We're 2 games in. Series is knotted up 1-1. What's jumped out to you so far?
I think when the Raptors are firing on all cylinders, they're a good team. And obviously they made the NBA Finals. I thought Milwaukee was a way more complete team, but when everyone's playing well, this Raptors team I really think can beat anyone. It's just, if Pascal Siakam plays like he did Game 1, didn't really translate it to Game 2, I don't see any. I see they could maybe pull out an upset, maybe, if everyone's playing the way they should be, but we'll see when Kevin Durant comes back and if Klay stays healthy.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I feel like last night's game changes the way a lot of people look at the finals, because I heard a lot of people saying going in, the winner of Game 2 is going to win the finals. And I feel like that's overreactionary a little bit. It's really easy for us to look at every single game and say, okay, that this is a must-win, now this is a must-win, and everything becomes pressurized. Now, I understand where they're coming from, because Toronto had home court, they want to lose that, and now you got Klay and Durant. We don't know what's going on there, so it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, and even Steph towards the end of the game looked like something was wrong, or I think he was dehydrated or something, and I don't know, his ankles got retaped a bunch of times, so we'll see. Hopefully they can all stay healthy and make it competitive for the rest of the way. Kawhi Leonard, I feel like we haven't really seen much of like playoff Kawhi until this year, but since his NBA Finals MVP, and I forgot how amazing it was.
Yeah.
Him on his own, like as the main guy, he just puts everyone on his back, and he almost won the game yesterday. And I don't know if you saw that and one. I think it was Draymond, and I don't know, just the strength of Kawhi, like mentally and physically, is just crazy to watch, and it's so awesome. And I think you're looking at the face of the NBA for the next, 5-6 years.
Oh, interesting. I mean, because that's an interesting point, because in terms of play, I think he's as good as anyone in this league. But the way that these leagues now are operating, the NBA, and now you're seeing it with Major League Baseball, the leagues want these guys to be these larger-than-life characters, too.
Right.
So can you see him as the face of the league, even though he doesn't have much of an interest in marketing himself.
Yeah, I don't know about that because you're always going to have someone like
Mike Trout.
Like a Mike Trout.
He does market himself.
Yeah. And then you're going to have guys like Steph Curry where the marketing basically, his play does it for him because it's so exciting and people just want a piece of that. Under Armour wants a piece of that. Everyone wants a piece of that. And I guess I heard Draymond talking saying that he's never heard a word or like he never hears a word out of Kawhi Leonard. And I think the NBA likes to have those guys that bring attention to themselves, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the Warriors players do that on social media, on the court, and whatnot. So I think Kawhi Leonard definitely has the talent. I don't think he really necessarily wants to be the face of the NBA. I think he just wants to win championships. And we'll see. I feel like it's just how the NBA markets him and if they get behind him. So,
is there a specific time period that you look at? I know I'm a little bit older than you, so maybe you don't quite remember a certain era that I'm thinking of, but there's a time period where I feel like the whole entertainer part really came alive, where you started to see these players really want to become entertainers. Entertainers want to be ballers.
True. Very true. I think rappers nowadays want to be basketball players, and basketball players all want to be rappers, it seems like.
It feels like that came about around the early 2000s in the Iverson era.
Yeah, I was going to say the Iverson, and then that draft class with like Carmelo Anthony and D-Wade and LeBron. They all came in wearing like the do-rags and what's not, and like all the jewelry and stuff like that right out of college. So, and I don't really know because I wasn't like watching basketball like, very early 2000s, so I don't really know what it was like. Well, I guess Rodman was very out there.
He was out there. I think he was just being himself, though. I mean,
so I think that probably, at least from what I've heard from my parents or grandparents, that the NBA has definitely gotten more out there in terms of entertainment, and I guess it's smart putting fans in seats and stuff like that because the drama is half the fun.
Yeah. I watch a lot of MLB Network. Do you ever watch MLB Network?
Yeah.
MLB Central with Mark DeRosa.
Right, yeah.
He was talking recently. I'll try to do my Mark DeRosa impression here. This idea of being a performer is a new idea. When I was coming up in the minor leagues on a bus, I was not thinking about how I had to entertain people. Right. I was just trying to get hits. That sound like him?
Oh yeah, it sounded like D-Row.
But there are a lot of guys like him who talk about this idea that they never ever thought of themselves as entertainers, and now that's where the league in baseball, they're trying to push some of these players to do that. And to me personally, the play, I'm just a sports fan. The play is entertaining enough to me.
I agree.
I don't need anything else to add on to it.
Even now, like I feel like the entertainment factor, like they're trying, like college kids, like the college players, at least that I've been around and seen on social media, they are trying to put the entertainment aspect into it, which I guess is good. But like, I think you got to worry about your studies and you got to worry about basketball, and basketball or whatever sport you play should always be at the forefront. And I don't know. I feel like
academics too.
Yeah, I feel like once I'd respect your game more if you just let your play do the talking, and that's why I respect Kawhi Leonard so much.
I'm the same way. It's nice to have an old school guy like that, especially in these finals, and it's good to see some new blood in there too. I think a lot of people are getting behind Toronto for many reasons. Look, let's be real here. There aren't a whole lot of people outside of Oakland that like the Golden State Warriors at the moment.
No. I think collectively I like some guys on that team, but I don't want to see that team win.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
Toronto, I think it's very cool to see them in the whole Jurassic Park thing, watching the fans get all excited. That's cool and all. The Drake thing might be a little too much for me, but that's just me. But it's really cool to see all these fans rally around the Raptors for their first finals. So
I feel like there are people who were against the Drake thing, and they're like, all right, yeah, like you said, a little too much. But now with him up against the Warriors, there are
yeah.
people like, you go, Drake, you do that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Try to get Draymond teed up.
Exactly. Did you see his sweatshirt he was wearing yesterday?
What was that one?
He was, I think it was just a normal Raptors sweatshirt in the front, and then on the back it had Kevin McAllister from Home Alone saying, Kevin, like his cat did, like...
I missed that. I'll have to look that one up.
I think in the tunnel after the game, because Klay and KD obviously weren't playing at the end of the game, and they were waiting for the team, and I think Drake got in the tunnel, and they were talking back and forth, which is so funny to me. Like, how are you trash talking, not like an actual player?
Yeah.
But it's hilarious because Drake was saying, like, oh, you played well tonight, Kevin, and stuff like that. Like, the video is very exciting, and I'm like, I hope he makes the trip to Oakland. That might be entertaining, but who knows.
So, Bair, I know you have some notes with you. What's the latest on Durant and Klay? Is there anything since last night, or is it pretty up in the air of what we'll see? Because the next game is on Wednesday.
Yeah, I know Steve Kerr said that Klay's fine, but he also said that Klay could be dying and he'd say he's fine. So I think that I'd be shocked if Klay doesn't play on. But I'm listening to the beat reporters on Twitter, Golden State. They all seem to think he's going to play.
Okay.
Kevin Durant, on the other hand, I don't know. I feel like if they lost game 2, he'd find a way to get there.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I have no idea.
They don't have to be as urgent at the moment.
You're right.
Especially
going home.
Yeah, and considering the contributions they got out of the other guys in this last game.
Yeah. And I was pleasantly surprised with DeMarcus Cousins. He's clearly not in game shape, and I didn't even think he had a bad game 1 by any means. But game 2, he really played well. And Quinn Cook, I thought was very good. And then Draymond Green was awesome.
Yeah.
So
Draymond's defense was fantastic last night, as was Iguodala's.
Right.
Iguodala, another guy. In terms of health, what are you going to get out of him? That's a big question.
I mean, I kind of see that guy as not like the heart and soul of the team, but he's kind of like the backbone. It seems like he's always
the stable force.
Right, and he seems like just a great leader, and they seem like they're a lot better on defense, especially when he's on the floor. And then obviously he hit that big shot last night.
Yeah.
Which,
oh my goodness,
some people were mad about taking it, but he made it. So, which is understandable because I think they would have the ball with 6 seconds left down 2.
Yeah.
So it's a questionable shot, but he was wide open. I guess you got to take it.
Yeah, when you're that open.
Yeah, and I know he's not the best shooter, but I feel like in the finals he comes up big all the time.
Yeah.
So
you know what's funny is I saw him play when he was with Philly, this was like 9 years ago.
Right.
It was Iverson's last career game, and someone gave me, I would never get these seats because I don't have these kind of connections. Right. Someone gave me tickets that were in the second row, like next to the tunnel where all the Sixers are coming out. So we were watching the warm-ups, and Iguodala was raining down threes like I've never seen a guy before.
I remember, and I don't remember much of Iguodala because I was on the Sixers, but I remember him playing in those Team USA teams with like LeBron, Melo, and Kobe, and he was right up there with them.
Yeah.
In terms of athleticism, he was crazy. And I've watched some of his Philly highlights, and he could dunk the ball like nobody's business. It was crazy.
Yeah, and so he was raining down all these threes, and so I was thinking maybe he's just not the best in-game shooter. But if he's wide open, he can hit them. And last night he was wide open, so
he knocked it down.
Yeah, because that's a different skill set to shoot with a guy just a couple feet away from you versus or someone right in your grill,
right?
Versus someone that's nowhere within 15 feet of you.
Right. I don't know. What'd you think on that play right before Steph got the ball? I think Draymond had the ball. I thought they should have fouled him right there and gave him an extra time. And then, and I also thought Steph may have gotten fouled before he dumped it off to Iguodala to hit that 3.
Ooh, I would have to look that one up. I don't remember, but that was a big thing. Is should they foul Draymond? And
I mean, I think you have to. And you can't really foul if you're gonna foul anyone on that Warriors team. It would be Iggy or him, right?
Yeah.
So I think you got to get the quick foul right there.
Steph did a great job of beating that box and one.
And that's crazy. I haven't seen that since I played AAU.
Yeah, that was insane.
And like honestly, at first, I mean, it was like you could tell it was making him frustrated. And Van Vliet was very impressive, I thought.
Oh yeah.
And like he had kind of a rough go of it in the first couple rounds of the playoffs, but a few games
came alive in Milwaukee. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. And that reminds me of Wichita State Van Vliet with Ron Baker. Man, he's just raining everything. He's playing hard. That steal on Steph, I feel like that he had a nice little swipe on Steph and then laid it in. I feel like that kind of defines Fred Van Vliet. He's a workhorse.
He plays with a lot of heart.
A lot of heart. Feels like he was undrafted, I think, maybe. Or maybe not, but
I'll look that one up.
He just seems like he has that undrafted mentality.
Yeah, he does.
Like high round mentality where he has to prove himself every time he goes on the floor, and I think he definitely did that on the biggest stage yesterday.
I didn't know Fred Van Vliet was from Rockford. Yeah, he was undrafted. You're right.
Yeah.
And he looks like he spent some time in the G League as well.
Yeah, I think he might have been a G League All-Star.
Yeah, he was a G League champion, it says. I don't know if he was
a champion All-Star or something like that. But, yeah, I was very impressed with him.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about this idea of kind of how pressurized Game 2 was in the sense of here's the opportunity Toronto has where if you win this game, and then you might be looking at, all right, we're up 2-0. We've got home court. Now all the pressure is on Golden State. They might be playing without Durant and Klay, and who knows with Iguodala.
Right.
Man, it was a missed opportunity for sure. However, the one thing I will say, and look, I'm expecting Golden State to win this series because who is it? Everyone is.
Right.
One thing I will say, this team has played very well with their backs to the wall. If you go back, they were down 2-0 against Milwaukee. They were down 2-1 against Philly.
Right.
And Kawhi has come up big in those big moments when they've been down. So I'm expecting, and I'm not a huge predictions guy, I think this is going to be 2-2 going back to Toronto.
I can see it. I could definitely see it.
And if Toronto can get that, then they've got home court back.
Right, and that's huge. And I know it's ways away, but 2-2 and your home court, you're in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be in the driver's seat against the Warriors, so they just got to capitalize when they can. And I think Kyle Lowry has got to step up.
Yeah.
I was looking for him to have a big game because that's supposed to be Kawhi. It's Kawhi's team. He's only been there for a year, but Kyle Lowry's been through it all with the Raptors.
Yeah.
Since what? It's got to be at least 8-9 years, something like that. He was with DeRozan. He's with whatever. He's been the guy. And besides, I haven't really seen him step up in a big game besides what he had a good game in Milwaukee, I think. I don't remember exactly what game it was. But that's supposed to be your floor general. That's supposed to be the heart and soul of your team. That was the face of your franchise. It's going to be the face of the franchise if Kawhi doesn't re-sign. So I feel like that's a name that has to step up. And his defense was usually great, but I saw he just kind of looked lazy out there sometimes. I saw there was a little slow Euro step from Draymond Green that got right past Kyle Lowry, and he did a little ill attempt at a steal as he got by him, but didn't really move his feet. And then fouled out, obviously.
Yeah, you can't foul out.
You can't foul out in a finals game.
Especially as a guard. Because
absolutely,
big men, they can chalk up those fouls where someone drives in on them, and it's easier to foul out as a big man. But as a point guard, a lot of those fouls are typically just really dumb reaches.
Right.
Curry picks up a lot of those dumb fouls too, and he expects to get away with them.
Yeah, didn't he have a technical last night?
Oh my goodness, I could not believe how upset he was about getting a tech there.
I mean, don't throw the ball up 100 feet in the air.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's in the rules. You can't slam the ball down, so why would you be able to throw it up in the air?
And that's part of why people don't like the Warriors. And look, I'm sure Steph Curry is a great guy in real life.
I do too. I think he is.
Yeah, and I like him. On this podcast, I don't like to be critical of people too much. But I will say, I think one of the knocks that people have on the Warriors from a fan standpoint is they feel like sometimes they act like they're above the law.
Absolutely. They got some divas in that team, I think. Not divas, but like
guys who are going to pick up technicals, and then they're going to be surprised when they pick up a technical. It's like they're expecting, because they are the Warriors, that the refs aren't going to call those against them.
I mean, Durant and Boogie Cousins, you got to be worried about they can get a technical.
And Draymond.
Yeah, Draymond. I don't know why. Those three, like, they could snap any second. Which Kevin Durant wasn't really like that at Oklahoma City.
No. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think he's gotten more comfortable and he's talks a lot to the ref, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this moment last night. It looked like Draymond. There was one point where he was kicking his leg out when he was pivoting. Did you see that?
I must have missed it.
Oh. Well, he was out on the perimeter and I think he passed out of a trap he was on. And he was swinging his leg around, and I'm like,
surprised.
This just looks like, some people have called him the human kickstand. It's like he's an action figure, and his move is just the kick.
Right. And did you see that reach-in foul he got? And he went insane when he called out. He just started screaming. And like when they showed the replay, it was clear. And like there have been, I think, a few questionable calls in the series. Especially I saw an and one.
Yeah.
I think for Kawhi Leonard that Kevon Looney fouled him, I think. I don't think it was a foul at all, but
I agree. Also, the Curry where he backed into the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like, I think it'd be interesting if, and I don't know how you'd implement it, if there was a way that you could punish guys who are trying to get fouled.
Right. And there were a ton of fouls called.
I'm not talking a suspension or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying you rule a foul on that guy for trying to draw a foul,
just
but exactly. Don't call everything.
Right. And see, I think Kawhi Leonard, he got to the line a ton. I think he went for 16 for 16, which is NBA Finals record for most consecutive made free throws. But every time he goes to the line, he's getting hacked. And I don't think he just plays the game where he just 100% at the rim and he just gets hacked because there's no other way to stop him. But there's some other, I think, weaker calls that have been made in the finals, but none from really Kawhi, I don't think.
Another note on Kawhi and the Raptors as a whole, too. Kawhi was rebounding the ball phenomenally last night. He had some big boards. That team got a lot of second chance opportunities.
Oh my gosh. There was one possession, I don't think they scored on it, but 4 out of the 5 players on the floor shot a 3 on the possession. I think Kawhi got 2 of those rebounds. His hands just come out of nowhere and snatch the ball. It's crazy.
The claw.
Absolutely crazy. But they seem to have the higher energy when it comes to those 50-50 balls, and if they can keep that up, it's going to be huge for them along the way.
I think even though last night was a tough loss because they were up 12, I think, was their biggest lead. Was 12 their biggest lead?
Yeah,
sound
so.
right?
And then Warriors came out with 22-0 or what?
Yeah.
Or 18-0, and then all 22 of their field goals were assisted in the second half.
Wow. That's a good fact right there.
So that's just, I think that's Warriors basketball for you, so it's kind of hard to stop that, but
I'm sure that was a heart-sinking loss last night for the fans, and I'm sure the team did not take well to that loss, especially the fact that they came really close to tying it up there at the end.
Right.
But what I will say, Nick Nurse and his guys, if you told them we're going to go 1-1 to start this series...
Oh, they'd take it 100%.
Yeah.
They would love that.
And I think Golden State would take 1-1 too.
I think you have to. On the road, you have to.
Without Durant. So I think this is an interesting point where both teams are 100% content with where they're at. I would think from a series standpoint. I mean, Golden State's not
from
content.
A health standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the Raptors are in the best place possible in terms of their chance of winning the NBA Finals at a 1-1 series. They have to take advantage. If Kevin Durant's out, I think Kawhi's got to have a big game because they're obviously. I think Kevin Durant is a better defender than what he gets credit for.
Yeah,
and I think he will do a great job on Kawhi. He scored 50 on Kawhi once this year. Kawhi scored 30 on him, but still, I'm really looking forward to that matchup. I think people saying that the Warriors are better without Kevin Durant, I just have a hard time believing that. I get that the spacing might be better, they score more points, but Kevin Durant's the best scorer in the NBA, I think. And could be the best, depending on who you are, he's the best player in the NBA.
It seems like what could be the worst case scenario for Kevin Durant is if he doesn't come back, which I think he'll come back.
I think he would.
He will come back. I'm talking about in this series. I'm not talking about this summer. It sounds like he'll be back in Game 4.
Yeah.
But if for some reason he did not come back and the Warriors won this series without him, how can you justify coming back as a free agent?
I don't know. I don't think you can. I mean, I have a hard time believing that. I
don't think he's going to leave Golden State, though, to be clear.
I think that he would have if the Knicks got the number 1 draft pick.
Oh, okay.
If the Knicks got the number 1 draft pick, I think Kyrie would have gone to the Knicks, and I think Kevin Durant would have joined him. But now that that's the case, and I've heard more buzz, at least on Twitter, that he doesn't really want to leave as much as everyone thought he did. So I wouldn't be surprised. And there's not really... What team really would he go to?
It's a good point.
Like, I guess the Nets don't have money to spend on more than one superstar.
Yeah.
I think I've heard buzz about Kyrie going to the Nets. But, there's a ton of free agents, too.
Yeah.
But I just don't really know, like, who's going to just splurge on Kevin Durant right now.
Yeah. Let's briefly discuss Kawhi's future, because I think I'm looking at 2 possibilities. And I think he's going to end up staying here in Toronto.
I agree. I think making it to their first finals, I think they've probably fallen in love with the guy.
Yeah.
He's probably fallen in love with that city and all the support. And I think if the only way that he would ever leave was go to L.A. Clippers, maybe.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
People were talking about LeBron, and it was going back to last summer. Number 1, Kawhi Leonard is not the kind of guy who's, I got to play with another superstar. He's an old school guy. You're seeing it right now. He's going toe-to-toe with these guys. He's not backing down. He's just playing competitively. Keeps his head down. He works. Mm-hmm. Number 2, I don't necessarily know how many guys want to play with LeBron at the moment.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge, huge LeBron fan.
Yeah.
As you know.
Yeah.
But I actually agree with you. I think that the big name free agents should not go to the Lakers. I think the Lakers should focus more on those mid-level guys that are jumping at the idea, oh, maybe I can play with LeBron, maybe I can propel this team to the next step. But I don't think I don't think a superstar will mesh well with LeBron at this point in his career, because LeBron's going to want to be the guy for the next 2 years.
And there's no fun. I mean, we understand why Kyrie wanted to leave.
Right.
Every situation that LeBron is going into, he's leaving the team in a worse spot when he leaves.
Every time.
And now, hey, you might win your championship, so it may be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was worth it for Cleveland.
Right, definitely.
However, you're going to have the narrative of LeBron doesn't have any help, and you're going to just stand to the side and just become a jump shooter, and you're not going to get to do the things that you normally get to do. I do think the Clippers is a little feasible for Kawhi. I don't think he's going to leave, but I think if he were to go somewhere, now you could talk about he bought a new home in Southern California. Now he's from there, and he probably wants to live in the States in the summer too. He doesn't want to have to live in Canada. So I some of these things, but I think that Clippers situation is appealing. Doc Rivers, and there's some nice pieces there.
Oh, and they played fantastic against the Warriors too. At least in that series, they really kept it close the whole time. So
I think that's an attractive landing spot for a lot of guys.
Are they retaining? I don't even know who they're retaining.
I don't either.
Gallinari, maybe. I feel like if they get a superstar, because they don't have that one superstar,
they
could be pretty good and pretty dangerous. As if they were dangerous.
Yeah.
I feel like Beverly played amazing, but I know he's a free agent. And I don't know if he's your everyday point guard. You know? But there's some pieces and definitely people will. If Kawhi comes, people will definitely get behind the Clippers, I think.
Yeah.
And I know they already do, but I think it would be very exciting if he does, but I don't really see it, especially taking this team to the finals.
Yeah, and if they were to somehow win these finals, you can't leave.
No, you can't leave.
I want to bring up one last point about Kawhi, and then if we've got any other thoughts on this series, we can get into that, and then maybe move into some baseball. I was going to touch on this on my last show with Parker Gatewood, and we were talking a lot about Kawhi and the fact that he's a drama-free superstar. I asked him the question, if you could have any guy in the league for 4 years, who would you take Kawhi? And I think I would. I'll let you answer that in a second. I just wanted to address one point that we did not talk about, and that was the San Antonio fallout. The one thing I want to say, because there were a lot of questions about that, Danny Green was playing with a misdiagnosed injury last season.
Mm-hmm.
The medical staff had something wrong, and he was playing through it. They told him, you're okay. And this report came out, I think it was through Bleacher Report last summer, and it was that something was wrong. Now, having known that information, I think that changes the way that a lot of people look at that Kawhi situation.
I agree. I think all those situations get blown out of proportion, and I think just looking at the type of player Kawhi is in these finals and these playoffs the whole year, that he's not the guy that would just stop playing.
Yeah.
Just to stop playing.
Exactly.
There had to have been something that maybe an outside doctor or something suggested so that he can prolong his career, and you can't really fault him for that. If I'm assuming that he was actually injured severely and couldn't play just because he seems like the guy that wants to play basketball more than anything. That's all he wants to do. We even said it. He's not interested in anything outside of the NBA. He's all basketball.
Yeah, so business first.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of think that
it didn't help that his coach started throwing him under the bus to the press either.
Which is weird. I get that Popovich is
Look, he's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
No doubt.
Great coach, but he's always weird with the media, you know? I feel like he hates to take blame. So, or I don't think he would have even taken.
He doesn't gel with every guy as a player either.
And like watching his interviews, I don't think I'd get along with him. I respect him. I don't think I'd get along with him. So, I don't know. But you can't. I just feel bad because I think his legacy as a Spur should be, like, I think that it's kind of diminished. And I feel like, I mean, he's in the finals MVP. He beat LeBron. He locked him down.
Almost beat him twice.
Right. And I remember after the finals, Dwayne Wade was... I watched this clip on Instagram. I think TNT just posted it.
Yeah, I saw that.
They were like, as well as Draymond never hears him talk, Dwayne Wade's like, there's a couple guys in that team that didn't... Like, I don't know what they sound like.
Yeah, I don't know what his voice sounds like.
And...
Kawhi being one of them.
Right. And I don't even remember. But, yeah, Kawhi probably just being the main one. And then there's also that clip of LeBron where you see Kawhi checks in and LeBron's like, oh crap or something like that, like oh darn, something worse language than that, but you can see him right when Kawhi checks in, and this kid's 22 years old at the time. Like, it's nuts.
Or
not whatever he was, young.
I think he was 21 in that first series.
So I think
it may have been 20, honestly.
See, that's crazy, and you're giving players like LeBron fits. That's nuts.
So Bair, you get a guy for the next 4 years, any guy in the whole league. Would you take Kawhi? Would he be your number one?
For the next 4 years, I think it would be very close. I think I'd go Kawhi just for the fact that he's younger than Kevin Durant.
Okay.
I think Kevin Durant is the best scorer in the NBA, in my opinion. I've been a fan of Kevin Durant for a long time.
Yeah.
So I got a little bias.
Well, everyone's got a guy in the NBA. And for me, Kawhi has become my guy over the last few years. Just because I love watching him play. I just think I haven't seen a guy as equally dominant offensively and defensively as Kawhi Leonard in my lifetime.
I think the only guy that you can, at least in the league now, and his prime now, is, I guess, Paul George. In terms of defense and offense.
Two-way player.
Yeah, I'm a big Paul George fan, but Kawhi's better in my opinion. But Paul George is a great player.
Yeah.
And I was going to say Damian Lillard maybe, but he just did not do it for me in that against the Warriors.
He did have some rib problems, so...
And I think he's a guy that, like...
He's an old school guy.
Right. So I love that little old school mentality. But it's hard to turn my head away from Kevin Durant, but I think you got to go Kawhi in terms of defense, offense, and age.
And no social media stuff.
Yeah, you're not going to get, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
You know? And Kevin Durant, you don't always know.
All right, let's talk just a little bit, make sure we covered everything. I was just going to mention real quick, I thought that boxing one that Toronto was playing was a great adjustment in the second half last night.
Mm-hmm.
It's also interesting to see how Golden State has been attacking Kawhi defensively, especially in that first game where they were trying to just take him out of the game, make everyone else beat them. It's been fun to watch these adjustments.
Right. What was fun for me is watching as the game got on, that having Draymond bring the ball up at certain points of the game, and he was finding guys. He's a very talented passer.
Yeah.
And, like, it's so valuable. It's so valuable having a guy like that at the small forward position or power forward position that can pass the ball.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. They have guys that can. Steve Kerr has the ability to make all those adjustments because all those guys have the talent too. So, and I think it's no knock to Steve Kerr. I think Steve Kerr is an amazing coach, and I think that these Warriors would not be the same with Mark Jackson. But
yeah, we saw it. They went up a big step the first year with Steve Kerr. So
and they didn't have Kevin Durant. I think, and also Nick Nurse. Coming into like these playoffs, I didn't really know much about him at all.
We didn't know anything about him.
But like the way he's like found a way to utilize Van Vliet and get Danny Green going, and I think it's important to get Danny Green going in the finals because he's a guy that we know can. Yeah. If he starts shooting the ball well and down the stretch, it's dangerous. And he had that one late 3 too to make it 2 points, I think. So it's really cool to watch the coaches just change the game up and figure things out, and I think both of them have done a really good job so far.
In terms of strategy, what sport do you enjoy watching strategy unfold the most? Is it basketball, or would you say baseball? Or, football?
Honestly, I think it's baseball for me.
Yeah.
I think it's so, like, there's so many things that are out of the manager's control that I think the regular fan doesn't really think the manager does that much for a baseball team, which I think could not be further from the truth. As a Rangers fan, I've watched the last with Jeff Bannister. He was a great manager, I thought, at least, but like he couldn't manage the bullpen at all, ever. We blew so many leads, or the Rangers blew so many leads, just because he wouldn't know when to put in a reliever. So I think there's so many things. You got to know the shifts. You got to know players' tendencies and all that. And that's the manager's job to make sure everyone knows that. And there's 9 guys that you got to figure out and match. You got matchup problems and stuff like that all managers have to make their decision. So, and I think that if a play goes right in baseball, the player gets most of the credit and not enough credit goes to the manager because I think they do a lot for the game. So I'd say that, but also football, I mean, strategy for like play calling, offensive coordinator, I think, but I think that comes down to the quarterback as well, reading the defense. So I think I would say the baseball manager for sure.
Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying baseball is my favorite sport. I would say, however, and I love the strategy of baseball. I love National League Baseball. I love pinch hitters and double switches, and I think I like having that aspect of the pitcher's batting, which American League no longer has and hasn't had for a long time. What I will say, though, is that in terms of strategy, I'm really drawn to watching how college and NBA coaches draw zone defenses.
I think especially in college basketball, it's very entertaining to watch. Yeah. Because I feel like in the NBA that a lot of teams are superstar-centric where the best player can find a way to just orchestrate the offense, and sometimes, like you saw LeBron win with Ty Lue. Like, I don't think Tyronn Lue is like that great of a coach. I think LeBron was the coach of that team, but yeah, I think in college especially the kids are so young and don't know that much about the game, and they have to just embed it in those guys' heads. So I'd agree with you on that. I think that.
And but I'm making this clear. Basketball, the NBA is maybe like my 4th or 5th favorite sport in league at the moment, just because I'm not the biggest fan of the current state of the league. However, we have gotten a great playoffs. What I'm saying, though, is that, and this is also for me personally, because I played a lot of baseball growing up, and I feel like as a baseball analyst or whatever you want to call me, podcaster, I feel like I have a lot of abilities where I could step into a dugout. Now, the guys would not respect me at all because they'd just be like, who is this guy? But I feel like I could play along at home and be like, oh, I want this guy pinch hitting because I like his splits against the left-handed pitcher more than I like this guy,
right.
Or he's a better fastball hitter. Like, I understand that to a better extent, whereas I have no idea how to draw up a zone defense. Like, I do understand, how boxing one works. We used to run them sometimes when I would play growing up, but I'm not a good basketball player. I was okay at baseball. So basketball, I feel like I learn a lot as I watch some of these coaches, and I see just a lot of different ways where I'm like, wow, I would have never thought of defending that guy that way. And I feel, for me personally, I'll learn a lot.
Yeah, and I think definitely there's always I also am always surprised in like an adjustment a coach makes in the NBA, and like there'll be random games where a coach figures something out and a superstar scores 10 points sometimes. Like, if I think that the ability to slow down another team just by orchestrating up a different defense is it's incredible, because just in the middle of a game you have to make an adjustment like that and it works. I would just like to see like how many times coaches make those adjustments and it works out like worse off for the team.
Yeah.
So it's definitely impressive that like a coach can just watch the game and be like, oh, this is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
If we just put 3 guys down low and then 2 guys up top, this will stop whatever. It's crazy.
And you'll get to have a front row seat to watch Jamie Dixon do all that stuff next year.
That's exciting. I think they gotta step it up next year.
Well, we don't want you saying too much of that. You might get in trouble.
Yeah.
So the other thing I'll say is that's also a fun aspect of baseball, is the fact that you can be an armchair manager to some extent,
right,
and feel like you can play along and feel like you are in the right when you see a manager make a move that doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And look, you said it best. We have to respect what these guys do and everything, but that's
And honestly, I feel like I'm not saying baseball is a sport of luck by any means, but like there can be things that can happen. I feel like there's more lucky plays in baseball than there are in basketball. So then I guess that
I would also say football has a lot of lucky plays too.
Oh yeah. Like blown, busted cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
it's because you got 11 men on the field
trying to beat each other up.
Yeah,
someone's gonna go crazy.
Yeah, there's so many things that are out of your control.
Right.
But yeah, baseball, there's also weird stuff that happens too. So okay, Bair, let's talk a little baseball while you're here.
Sounds good to me.
You're a big Rangers fan.
Huge.
Now they're in second place right now.
Overperforming in my opinion.
And is it true that your family has had MLB extra innings for several years and you guys canceled your subscription this year because you weren't expecting a whole lot from the team?
This is true, but I would like to go on record and say it was not my decision. My mom is under the impression when she doesn't watch the games or doesn't own it, we play better. So, because like at least starting this year, we bought it right when I remember we went to the opening series. It was Cubs Rangers, and we won the series, I think. And I think we were like, oh my gosh, we got to watch this. Because I don't know, but I didn't expect anything. I was like, this team's not good, but like they got some guys I just love and some power hitter like Joey Gallo.
Yeah, he's having a nice year.
Yeah, so I think
Mike Minor also having a very nice year.
Oh yeah. And Hunter Pence.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, what a bounce back that guy's had.
It's crazy.
People thought he might have retired after last season.
Yeah. So, I think that's a guy we got to trade going forward at the deadline. Get a young arm, because that's our issue. It's just, or not ours, the Rangers, sorry.
It's okay. You're not, look, you don't write a blog, you're not a podcast or anything like that, so... I mean, you're a guest and you're very knowledgeable and you're always welcome back. So I appreciate your thoughts, but I'm not going to hold you to the standard of someone from the press which I think people who call themselves member of the press should not refer to themselves as we or us or whatever. But I'm not worried about you.
Okay. So, yeah, I think our offense is overperforming, and there's so many players that I'm just impressed with. Like, Elvis Andrews is batting over 300, and I think he's
Baby Shark.
Oh, yeah. And he's like a consistent guy where we'll have some mistakes in the field here and there. So we saw that in that Toronto Blue Jays series. Oh, my gosh. But he'll have an occasional error or whatnot, but he can hit the ball for average, and he gets a base hit whenever you need him. And I think the addition of Asdrubal Cabrera to not replace Beltre, but have a little veteran guy that can play third base since Beltre's not there has been very helpful. I think he's hit 12 home runs. He's batting like I don't think his average has fell off a little bit, but he's definitely valuable in the field and can come up big in some spots. I think Mazzara is a good young player.
Yeah.
I think hopefully I've heard Rangers Twitter is calling for maybe we can get a better arm for Mazzara, but I don't know. I like to keep Mazzara. Joey Gallo has cut down his strikeout numbers a little bit, and
that's big.
His walk numbers have shot up, which is huge, and his OPS is just fantastic. I think it's best on our team. I think it's top 10 in the MLB. Impressed with Logan Forsythe playing first base, and Ronald Guzman, just some random additions that Chris Woodward. I think Chris Woodward is a fantastic example of a manager that does so much for his team. It's like he embedded this whole trust the process. Just keep putting up good and bad, so you'll get on base, and the players have really bought into that. I think the only guy that I just worry about is Ruben Odor. He's just not having, and he's just not having a great year. But Chris Woodward will always back him up and say, this guy's so close to being here. He's putting good wood on the ball, but he's just not hitting for average. I think he's just got his average up to 200, I think, but it was 170 for a long time. And that guy was, especially after that Bautista punch, I think his stock went up, and I thought he was going to be our guy for a long time, but I think I don't know about him really. I don't know. I think there's got to be some trades made, especially Hunter Pence. We could get a nice little arm, I think, to a contender. Maybe the Cubs.
Yeah. They just picked up Carlos Gonzalez.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
So, potentially, if someone got hurt. Everyone always needs an extra bat, especially...
Any playoff team can use it, and any playoff team's going to offer us what we want, which is just...
Cubs don't have any arms to give up. They don't have any pitching. You know what's funny about the Cubs? And then I want to comment on another team in your division. It's really interesting. I was thinking about the other day. Out of all of the draft picks since the new front office came in with Theo and Jed Hoyer, they've only had a few guys come up to the show.
Which were Javi?
He was drafted before. He was a pick from Jim Hendry.
Okay. So
Schwarber, Almora, Bryant, and Happ. And then Bodie. Bodie is an 8th round pick. Bodie's not a blue chip prospect. I think he's a replacement level guy. He's a good guy to have on your roster. But they haven't really had that many guys come up and be huge impact guys. A lot of them have come through these trades that they've made in the sense of flipping Jeff Samardzija for Edison Russell, or getting Jake Arrieta, or Kyle Hendricks, and
which is very true.
Rizzo.
Yeah, because I remember Arrieta being a reliever for the Orioles.
He did make some starts, but he was a reliever for a while.
He wasn't near as good. It seems like when you're right, and when they make those acquisitions, Hamels was fantastic for you guys last year, which breaks my heart because it seems like we do a lot of trades with the Cubs.
A lot of them. That's where Cubs got Hendricks from you guys.
Yep.
Hendricks, Carl Edwards Jr., Mike Holt.
Right, and I feel like
Neil Ramirez.
Right, Leonis Martin.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think we traded. I think he went to the Mariners before the Cubs, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So you mentioned the Mariners. I was just about to bring up. It looks like they're starting to sell off pieces.
Yeah, I mean they started off
as expected.
Yeah, they started off 13-2.
Yeah, hit a lot of home runs over those first few weeks.
Yeah, I know your family's favorite player, Danny Vogelbach. But yeah, and they're a weird team. I feel like that. They always they're just never there at the end. You know? They start off great.
Those poor fans.
True.
It's got to be horrible.
And that stadium's great. It's so beautiful. And they had Ken Griffey, and they never got a championship with Ken Griffey. And Ichiro, they didn't have much luck with Ichiro and all that. And Cano took steroids.
So did A-Rod.
Yeah. So, like, you just got to... I mean, I don't really feel for the franchise as a Rangers fan because I don't really want another good ALS team. There's already, like... The Astros are always already doing that for me. But... it's just, I don't know what it is with them. They can never just figure it out. It always seems like they're kind of close to figuring it out and then just never do.
Well, I think they were expecting to be rebuilding this year, and they just got off to a hot start. They're a little comparable to the Diamondbacks, because Diamondbacks got off to a hot start, and they're starting to come down, and there might be a game below 500 right now. They're right around 500. Mariners are about 10 games under 500 right now, so they've fallen very quickly. Mm-hmm. They just traded Jay Bruce, and they're going to eat like 15 or 16 million of that contract too. So I hope whatever prospect they got back was a good prospect.
So my Twitter feed is flooded with Cubs fans that are angry with Theo Epstein.
Yes.
And the front office.
Yeah.
What is your take on all that?
Well, I got to be careful here. I don't want to get in trouble. I get a lot of Cubs fans upset with me when I'm a little critical sometimes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No. It's cool. Here's what I will say about the Cubs. Number one, like every Cubs fan should be thankful for what Theo Epstein has brought to the team. Winning a World Series and breaking a 100-year curse or drought or whatever you want to call it. However, having said that, there have been some slip-ups here that have gotten the team to where it's at. And I think part of it is, I talked about this on the MLB season preview episode with Jordan Mardini. I was talking about the difference between what the Dodgers have done and the Cubs have done. With the Cubs, they sold off a lot of nice pieces, and they've also spent a lot of money, which the Dodgers have had a high payroll, but that's from a long time ago.
Always have.
Yeah. But the difference is the Dodgers at some point, if they wanted to go all in for a championship, they could have traded Seager or Bellinger or Buehler or whatever. These guys have all been homegrown, and they've developed them. They've also drafted pitching. Theo's never been one to really go after drafting pitching. So I think the Cubs have put themselves in an interesting spot. They've spent a lot of money. I think they have more money they can spend. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with Kimbrel and Keuchel.
Oh yeah.
Right now, I don't think either is going to end up with the Cubs.
Kimbrel would be huge, though, huh?
It's just yeah. The only thing is, do you know what are you going to get out of him coming mid-season? Is he ready?
How did that? I'm kind of shocked that he's on this long.
Yeah.
Because I guess it's kind of like the NFL's doing this waiting stuff, but. I don't know. I feel like he hasn't even been able to pitch in extended spring games or anything like that. So it's all up to what he's been doing, working doing bullpen sessions alone. Who knows? We don't have any insight on that.
It's comparable to Greg Holland last year, who signed on opening day, and it took him a little while to get ready, and they ended up DFAing him.
Right, and
I don't think that's going to be the same thing with Kimbrel, but he might struggle. It might take him a while to get ready.
Because you can't simulate real game action at all, and he's missed a whole half a year then.
Yeah, and Holland's been very good this year, I should say. I just think that, and a lot of those pitchers last year who signed late, only Arrieta was the only one who had a pretty good year. A lot of those guys struggled.
Right.
I want to talk on the subject of the Cubs. Just, a little bit of what's going on around the league. And then I got another thing we talk about in your AL West. So, interesting enough, the Cubs just got swept by the Cardinals. It was payback that was overdue because the Cubs took all three at Wrigley about 3-4 weeks ago. I think that it's unfortunate for the Cubs because I think they just gave the Cardinals a lot of new life where they had been spiraling downhill. They were like only won 5 of the last 18 games or 6 of their last 18 games. Now they've won 4 straight.
What does the record say at now? The NL Central is so interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I love,
Yeah, it's a great division. So the Cardinals are 30-28 now. They're 3 games back of first place. The Cubs are out of first place now by a game and a half. They went in the weekend in first place. Brewers are in first place. So, yeah, that was a tough weekend for the Cubs. And now they've got, on the schedule, they're playing the Angels today. Then they got 3 games with the Rockies, who are red hot. Then they've got the Cardinals again at home, and they're out in Denver the next week. And I don't know when their next day off is, to tell you the truth. They don't have one this whole week.
That's tough. Especially having to play the Rockies twice, you said?
Yeah. They're playing some great baseball. It's at home this week, but then next week out in Denver.
Yeah, they are.
We don't have too many thoughts to add on to that, just kind of catching everyone up on what's going on. The Dodgers just swept the Phillies, which is another one that really hurts the Phillies. I think I don't know if their schedule is going to be as tough coming up. I'm not quite sure on that. But now the Braves, who are also playing very well, are just a game back. So that's another interesting division race.
Very true.
And then one team that I think is very interesting out in the AL West, I picked them as a wild card team. That's the Oakland A's.
The Oakland A's. That, I agree. I feel like you can never, I mean, you saw it with Moneyball and stuff like that, and all like in years after that they can find ways to win.
Yeah.
In weird ways.
Yeah.
And you can never really count them out. What are they sitting in?
They're 1 game under 500, so they won a 10-game win streak that ended last week, late in the week. Now they've lost the last 5, but I think they're gonna go. They've got another run in them pretty soon.
I don't see any I think they could definitely challenge for the wild card still at this point in the season.
In this division too.
Yeah,
I would say
there's not I love watching that third baseman Chapman. I think his name.
Yeah,
he's fantastic.
Yeah, played behind Arenado in high school.
Right, that's crazy. Can you imagine? Yeah, I think that you can never really count him out if Chris Davis starts hitting the ball really well like he can. We know he can crush the ball. And stay and be consistent with that. I think that's his issue, is that sometimes he's just not very consistent with his. And I think if their guys can figure it out, and I think they have the managing, and if they're good in their situations, that I don't see a reason why they couldn't challenge for the wild card either. Especially it's a grueling long season. I don't know if Texas or the Angels will keep up.
Yeah, I really think there's only going to be about 6 teams in the hunt for the 5 spots. Right. I think you got your 3 out in the AL East with Boston, New York, and Tampa, and then whoever comes out of the AL Central, which right now the Twins they have the best record in the American League.
It's crazy because what makes me so angry is they have Martin Perez, who was just it seems like a Rangers pitcher will get traded or leave and then put up his best season right after.
Not Darvish.
Well, yeah, that's one. I think I feel bad for that guy, but I think
do too.
I think that the problem with those off-speed type hit, like his arm he was throwing crazy stuff for the Rangers, and that his arm's got to be close to just almost.
He's had Tommy John. Yeah, he's in his
2
30s.
surgeries. I had 2 surgeries on his arm, I think.
And I don't love the Chicago situation for him. I think he'd be better in a smaller market with less pressure.
I agree. I think that's why coming in, I think that's why the Rangers were so good for him, is because they were coming off of 2 World Series losses, but they're not. It's still always the Cowboys' time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still always going to be.
And then you've got Cuban making all that noise too.
Right. And there's always going to be another team there to collect most of the pressure if you're on the Rangers, which can be a good thing, but also it might be a deterrent for some free agents. So
you probably appreciate having Rangers owner that stays out of the news compared to those other guys you got in Dallas.
So, yeah, there are tons of crazy, or not crazy, I shouldn't say crazy, but very animated, loud owners in Dallas. But I think my one complaint is I think that, or so I've heard, that John Daniels gets a lot of heat for the Rangers acquisitions, but I just don't think he gets allocated enough money because they just don't really have that much money to spend, but they're spending all this money on stadiums, whatever, new facilities and stuff like that, and I just don't really understand why they're not spending it on pitching.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really nice ballpark you guys got down there.
And it's only 20 years old.
Yeah, and it reminds me of The Rookie. I was thinking the last scene in The Rookie with Dennis Quaid. I'm going to have to see it when I come down for family weekend this year because I've never seen it, and it's going to be gone soon. That's an interesting point. I had not thought about that. It's probably a keeping up with the Joneses thing. They try to keep up with what the Cowboys have built with their stadium and also want to be indoors.
I guess that is a big part of it, being indoors, because during those long, hot Texas summers, it's hard to put fans in seats because they just get too hot.
Yeah.
So which I can see is good, but I have a hard time just tearing down a perfectly good 20-year-old stadium.
I don't like that. I like history.
So do I, exactly.
Especially in baseball.
Like your three favorite stadiums are always going to be Wrigley, Fenway, and I guess Camden Yards maybe for me. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I haven't been there.
Me neither, but I just... the reason I say that is the Rangers once scored like 30.
Dodger Stadium, another example.
Yeah, I've been to Dodger Stadium. That is cool. Chavez Ravine is awesome.
It reminds me of Cooperstown a little bit, if you've ever been to Cooperstown. No. You got all the hills out in the outfield. It's not in a super commercial area. Right. It's just out in the hills. And
yeah, it's awesome.
It looks like it'd be a fun place to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I think... For the newer stadiums, I think Safeco is really cool.
I have not been yet.
Yeah.
But it looks awesome. Yeah. I've always wanted to see Minute Maid.
Minute Maid's cool, honestly. Call it the juice box. The one
AT&T, well now Oracle Park, where the Giants play. That one was really cool.
I was there for Angel Pagan's Inside the Park home run, if you remember that. But also, I think number one on my list would be PNC Park.
Oh, yeah. I've always wanted to go. Haven't been.
So cool. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
I would love
Cremati Brothers sandwiches are supposed to be really good. The other one that I really liked was Petco out in San Diego.
Oh, yeah. The Sandbox. My dad went to a few games out. Padres games. I've never been, but he sent me pictures. It's pretty cool.
They've got great food there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. I love talking ballparks, too. This is fun. All right, Bair. One last note I want to talk about in terms of baseball news, and then we'll probably say goodbye for now after that.
Yeah.
How about Lucas Giolito with the White Sox?
Oh my gosh.
I know you and your family have a share of White Sox season tickets, so you've probably seen him pitch a few times. Mm-hmm. Have you seen him pitch this year in person?
Yep, I pitched. I was going to go yesterday. I think he was up yesterday. I think he threw 8 strikeouts. It's crazy. I saw... he pitched against the Blue Jays, I believe I went to, and he went 7 and struck out 9 or something like that. And I think he's the real deal.
Yeah, I think so too.
But like, with that, you got to get that Kopech guy healthy.
Yep.
And then some more. I don't know. Eloy Jimenez has to play like he's the prospect he's supposed to. I think that team could be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Tim Anderson.
Me neither.
I think he's just
having his hype.
Yeah, think back to when the Cubs were rebuilding 5 years ago, and Emilio Bonifacio was hitting like 400 through the first 2 months.
Right.
It's comparable to that. I think. Look, he's a fine player, a good guy to have on the team. I'm not really into the antics, but.
I think anytime you can get is he a switch hitter? I know Makata is.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, I think I just got confused with Makata, but I think that he's a good base stealer for sure too. If he gets on base, he's a valuable guy, and I think the players like him in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like Moncada has finally took a step in the right direction. When I listen to that guy hit the ball, I've never heard a baseball off the bat sound like that. It's crazy.
Wow. He's looking good this year too.
His swing looks like Ken Griffey Jr.'s to mine.
Wow.
I think he's just so fun to watch, so electric, and looks like he's a kind of a small guy, but he can hit the ball a mile.
Let me ask you, from watching Giolito last year to this year, what has jumped out? Have you noticed any differences when you're at the game in terms of his composure, his release, anything?
Honestly, my dad and I were talking about this last year, and then someone else who we sit near, who not also, but has season tickets and owns a share of the White Sox and Bulls. So he's like there at all the games. He sits near us, and he was saying that Giolito would shake off pitches a ton, and not very confident in his selection, and was only really confident with his fastball and changeup. And apparently, we've talked to him again, he said that, he's just confident in all of his pitches now and his put-away pitches. And that was always an issue, the two-strike pitch. So I think he's finally figured that out and can miss bats. And so I think just confidence is it.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of it's mental. He talked about at MLB Central recently with DeRosa the idea that when he was pitching in Washington, he felt a lot of pressure whenever he'd step into a spot start. Because he's like, this is a rotation with Scherzer and Strasburg and you name it, all those guys. So he felt like this is my opportunity and I need to pitch well, otherwise I'm going to blow it. And that kind of pressure in baseball is dangerous for players. Right. I think you need to be in a situation for a young guy to feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. Last year, he felt that same pressure. Going into this year, he said, look, I had a horrible year last year. Or at least I had a bad year, okay? Mm-hmm. And he was also, I think he was pretty good outside of the first inning. I think he struggled a lot in the first inning last year, and he showed a lot of potential later in the season, pitched a lot better. He said that if he could have a year like last year and remain in the rotation this year, then he doesn't have a whole lot to worry about. He should just relax and have fun and enjoy it. He also changed his arm release point. I think he brought it in a little bit. He's not extending it out as much. Mm-hmm. And he worked on with his high school pitching coach. So we've seen some changes in both, but he said most of it's mental. And to tell you the truth, I love watching him pitch. I think it's really cool to see a guy get out of that funk and show that potential, that live up to some of that hype, if you will. And it's been really cool to see him blossom and grow this year. Yeah. He's looking like an ace at the moment.
Right, and I think it's kind of cool to, at least as a neutral fan in Chicago, to have at least the White Sox perking up, maybe.
Yeah, being interesting and
having the Cubs just being the Cubs, you know? Yeah. So, it just makes it more fun being around here. And the stadium, I don't know, whenever I've gone to a couple White Sox games this year, and although they're not, the best team, but, there's more buzz, you can tell. Yeah. The fans are a little more excited, I don't know, there's just more excitement around.
Yeah, I think, so right now they're 29-30, just a game under 500. They have a bad division. We'll see if the Indians ever get going. I mean, they may just end up being around 500 too. Maybe they sell off parts. When you get to play the Royals and the Tigers 18 times each, that's at least 36 games you're playing against those guys. You're going to rack up some wins.
Oh, yeah.
So their win total could be just a touch inflated, but you could say that about any American League team for that matter, because there are a lot of bad teams in the American League.
Right.
Also, you could probably take the Cincinnati Reds or the Pirates and flip them with the Twins, and I think they'd be in first place in that division.
I'd like to see that.
Or the Mets, maybe.
So, even with the Twins, you never know what the Twins are going to do. They could just fall off, and maybe some team gets hot in the AL Central. Because I remember the Twins, they had I think it was Torrey Hunters last year in the MLB. They were, winning the division with, a month left, and then they completely choked it and didn't even get the playoffs. Or maybe they made wild card, I'm not sure.
Yeah, they've been weird to get a pulse on for the last couple years because they've been up and down every year. Mm-hmm. They've got a lot of exciting players in Rosario and Polanco, and Buxton is having a good year.
That guy, I remember him coming in. He was supposed to be, oh my gosh.
He's another guy like Giolito that you can look at. So it's interesting. I think what the White Sox will end up, I think they'll probably end up around 500 this year, and then next year, with Kopech back, hopefully, and maybe some of these other pitchers develop in terms of Lopez, or who knows, with Rodon or Fulmer. Right. One of these guys can pan out. Next year they could be really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
And I was hoping they'd sign Bryce Harper because I wanted to have some juice between that Crosstown Cup, have some excitement that hasn't been there since
even
Ozzie
Machado,
Guillen.
right?
Ozzie Guillen was always stirring the pot. And so to have someone like Harper or Machado, who's a little bit of a controversial figure.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have those storylines. I think it'd be fun.
Because I remember how fun it was watching, like, A.J. Przinsky play against the Cubs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Derek Lee. I think
Michael Barrett.
One of the differences is I think there were a lot more fiery veterans on those teams.
Right. And I think there's a reason why that 2005 White Sox team won.
Yeah.
It's because the veteran leadership is so important.
Yeah.
So once these young guys figure it out and maybe get a few and become these veterans or become these seasoned players, they could be a very good team soon, I think.
Yeah. So. We'll see. Well, Bair, I think we're done today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Lastly, is there anything you want to plug while you're here? A social media handle, Twitter, Instagram, anything like that?
Bair Kothmann, BairKothmann 21 on Twitter. I got some sports opinions on there. If you guys don't know how to spell his name, it'll be in the podcast description. Bair Witch Project on Instagram.
Bair again.
Yes, sir. So, yeah.
All right. Well, you knocked it out of the park. Yeah. I'll have to have you back on again. You did a great job.
Thank you so much.
So that does it for my conversation with Bair Kothmann. Had a lot of fun talking with him. Very thankful that he volunteered to come on this podcast and come in studio. So had a lot of fun talking about NBA and MLB. If you like what you listened to today, go ahead, subscribe to the podcast, Press On Sports on iTunes. You will never miss an episode, also known as Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast. We've got a YouTube channel, there's Spotify, lots of other places, lots of other podcast apps that Press On Sports is available in. Go ahead and follow along. You'll never miss an episode. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. That helps a lot with getting the word out with the search engine on iTunes with this podcast. Follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @TheJackVita. That's @TheJackVita. Follow along. I post a lot on there about when I'm podcasting, so that's another way that you can follow along, get in touch with me, tweet me your thoughts, tell us what you think about these NBA finals, or what you think about this baseball season, or whatever I'm talking about. We've had some fun podcasts recently. Last week I previewed the finals with Parker Gatewood. If you're interested in going back and listening to that one, we also talked a little bit about this new season of American Ninja Warrior. A couple weeks ago, also had Rachel Gerhardt on, and we talked about a lot of reality TV. So lots of good content out there. And tell me what you think on social media. I love getting in touch. I love interacting. Go ahead and tweet me, follow me, do whatever you want. Lastly, I should share what is coming up on the podcast later this week. There is a bonus episode out this week. It is not a sports podcast. I will be having a good friend of mine from my childhood, Barry Dunn, not to be confused with Bair Kothmann. These are two different guys. Barry Dunn is going to join me to talk about his favorite movie from his childhood, Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius.
Well, I'll be tuning into that.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun one. We'll talk about the movie and the cultural impact on our childhoods and be very nostalgic, and should be a lot of fun. So thank you, everyone, to listen to the podcast. I look forward to having you hear from me soon. God bless everyone. Bring in the dancing lobsters.